Well, last of the Rothschild bank hit list. The list is getting smaller and smaller. Back in 2000, there were only 7 countries, and looking at this article, 7 countries without a Rothschild-owned central bank. Afghanistan, Iraq, Sudan, Libya, Cuba, North Korea, and Iran. So, here we go. A few years later, 2003, we're down to 5. Got rid of Iraq, right? Saddam Hussein, who's gone. And, actually there was a little theory behind that. Saddam Hussein might have been dead before the war actually started. And it might have been his brothers actually running the country. I give a little credence to that theory because that change of policy didn't make sense. Didn't make sense. And the guy they hung at the end in Iraq, supposedly was Saddam Hussein. No way in hell, because, even as an amateur, I looked at him and I saw the teeth were all crooked. Saddam Hussein had perfect teeth. But the point of the story is they got rid of the problem in Iraq, and they installed the Rothschild Central Bank, and they went back to using U.S. dollars for trading oil. And, of course, Afghanistan, we invaded Afghanistan. They changed their central bank, so the list was down to 5. Now, a few years later, in 2011, 2012, it's down to 3 nations. Sudan had their revolutions. And, Shell oil companies in there, and they're always having these freaking problems with the oil pipelines, rebels and stuff. But, sometimes I'm going to give you a little insight on that. I'm pretty sure what the deal is. That's to manipulate the price of oil up and down when they need a story, Sometimes I think the actual rebels are being paid for by the oil companies. They want the price to go up, have an attack on the oil lines. That's in the Sudan. Now, of course, you know what happened in Libya. Colonel Gaddafi basically executed, and Hillary laughed. Ha 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 ha. So we got 3 countries left. And I want to point out, of the 3 that's left, Venezuela is not on the list. Because, Hugo Chavez, a lot of people thought he was the major dictator in a way he was, but there's always the power behind the scenes. Chavez I don't think Chavez had anything to do with devaluing the Bolivar in Venezuela several times over the last many years, because I think the central banks are other people that control that, and Chavez, he has nothing to do with it. He basically was a popular leader. Although a communist, I can tell you one thing, he actually took the communism to heart. The guy did good shit too. He actually did. He was he was a thorn in his side to the Western establishment, but he did good things too. I know because he just died recently. He actually did good things. He actually did care about the poor people. But when the Bolivar was devalued, you got to remember that bank was in other hands other than Chavez, and they're not on the list, are they? The last 3 are that are owned by the Rothschild family. It wasn't even Venezuela, wasn't even on the list back here in 2000. So it goes to show you the power behind the throne was the central banks in Venezuela. So the 3 that are left are Cuba, North Korea, and Iran. And you pretty much know what's going to happen there. You know what's going to happen. Probably, I thought last year was going to be the year for Iran, but, now they're talking about more openly that they're going to go after Iran for terrorism and stuff. There's some legitimate concern there because, and I'll get off that subject some other time maybe, but these are the 3 that are left. And, it behooves you to actually think a little bit about gold and silver. You think the Rothschilds are going to let you keep that money outside their little banking system? No, I don't think so. I hate to say it, but, we need a little more of a, talk than a talking revolution, because when you go to turn in your silver, you're probably going to have to turn it in for money that's going to be stored on an electronic chip. That's the one thing I'm thinking. So, the Rothschilds, I don't know if this is the Rothschilds per se, they did call it the Rothschilds, but the powers that be, central banks, ain't going to be freaking playing games. Just remember that. So, but there is a way to freedom, and the road to freedom is not paved with silver or gold. It's paved with hemp. The power to individually grow that plant would make all the world of difference in the whole worldwide aspect of what the central banks could do, because hemp actually could replace money. It's a true commodity used by everybody. And actually, silver and gold ain't going to be the way to break the central cartel banking system. It's going to be hemp. Hemp. No doubt about it. And I think we ought to get off this silver and gold thing, although I think it's going to do stellar this year. Absolutely stellar. Silver is going to shine like crazy. But 3 countries left that are without a centralized Rothschild-type bank: Cuba, North Korea, and Iran. It looks like Iran is going to be scratched off that list this year.